the flip-flop. Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday. And I'm going to start with this simple reminder of how not to deal with this president when you're up against him in a war. Last night, Harvard officials confirmed to the New York Times that the president was backtracking on its war with them over demand for $200 million, that this ongoing dispute between the administration and higher education potentially coming to a close. Not exactly. Last night, 11:30, guys, the president is out there saying he actually wants $1 billion in damages from Harvard.
Now, Sean, I thought the same exact thing.
It's just like, don't talk about it if you win, right?
For those listening, Sean made a gesture that was reference to Austin Powers. If you're wondering,
can't you just see him picking up the phone and being like, Secretary McMahon, tell them the new offer is $1 billion. Wow.
To me personally.
Amazing. That is not one of our topics today. I just couldn't help myself. But we are going to talk today about the shutdown, whether it's really over, not really, more so delayed. We'll talk about the Clintons caving with this new contempt deal with the Oversight Committee. We'll discuss all the swirling stories surrounding Tulsi Gabbard in the administration. We'll talk about Iran, whether there's going to be a strike or not ahead of these big talks the administration is going to be engaging in later this week. And then, of course, a little DC local news, the hysteria surrounding the Kennedy Center, the president's move to overhaul the Kennedy Center, and then Jeanine Pirro's gun warning on Fox News yesterday that has conservatives, frankly, pretty upset. Okay, let's start with the daybook here. On the Hill, GOP leaders and Democratic leaders will both be having their morning, gatherings with their lawmakers and do their press briefings after that. But the big thing in D.C. today at 11 o'clock is the president meeting with Colombian President Gustavo Petro in the Oval Office. This is his first meeting with a foreign leader, I believe, this year. And remember, this guy just a few weeks ago was threatening the United States after Maduro was taken. And the president hit back at him and said, "You're next. Watch your..." I can't say the word. Watch your derriere, shall we say. I am curious what you guys think is going to happen in this meeting, given that this guy apparently has a reputation for having a temper. The president himself has a temper at times as well. But ahead of this, it seems like, they're excited to meet each other.
Well, I think the big question in my mind is J.D. Vance going?
Look, I think in all seriousness, if you're Trump, you don't want more kind of chaotic meetings like you got enough headaches right now. You got enough bad poll numbers. You got a grumpy electorate. This doesn't play as well as it did last year.
Well, notably, Dan, to your point, this is going to be closed press. It sounds like they're not bringing reporters in, although that could change. That always could change. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't understand sort of what is the aim for this? If they're trying to get some sort of agreement on, drugs and making sure drugs don't come to the United States, there's a problem here in that this guy denies that he has anything to do with drugs and apparently is very insulted by even the suggestion that he might in some way be working with cartels. So it'll be an interesting meeting.
Well, the $1 million question is it on camera or not? I mean, look, if it's off camera, it's almost like, who cares? I mean, because you're not going to see anything. And so I do think that it is currently closed press. They will see, because normally the default would be, well, we know it's going to open. I don't know that that's the case anymore.
Well, we'll have to watch this morning. 12:30. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna of Florida is going to be having a press conference on the SAVE Act. We've talked a lot about the SAVE Act recently. And even though, and we'll discuss this more in a few minutes, she's backing down on a demand to stop, this government funding bill from going through today unless she gets the SAVE Act passed. She's going to keep pushing on this, and a lot of Republicans are, including Sean here on the show. So we'll revisit that. 2 p.m. The president has a signing time. He's going to be doing some signing in the Oval Office. But before we jump in, let's do a word about Cozy Earth.
Yeah, we are literally, I know everyone's worried about the shutdown, but you should be worried about Valentine's Day as far as I'm concerned, because it's coming up. And for a lot of people, you're thinking to yourself, what am I going to get? Am I just going to get flowers? And I'm thinking to you, yeah, flowers are nice. They're always appreciated, right, Rachel? I mean, I'm sure that's easy.
I love fresh flowers.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what it'll keep giving is a pair of Cozy Earth pajamas. You'll literally, that will be like, you'll be reminding someone every day, or depending on how often you do the laundry, every few days, you'll be like, hey, look, remember I gave this to you. You're comfortable. It's the gift that's going to keep giving. So if you're thinking to yourself, what am I going to get? Go to cozyearth.com. I highly recommend the pajamas. And the best part is right now, if you use our code HuddleBOGO, BOGO, HuddleBOGO, you can get a second pair of pajamas for yourself for free. Now, I don't really care if it's you want to get them for you and then you get them for someone special for Valentine's Day or some other thing. That's fine. I'm not going to tell anyone. We'll keep it between us. If you want to send an extra pair to us as your Valentine, I'm cool with that too. But don't go on cozyearth.com, whether it's the pajamas, the towels, the joggers, the pants,
the sheets.
It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You're not going to go wrong. I told you this, guys. I gave it for everyone for Christmas, and I keep getting phone calls saying, "Oh my goodness," on all fronts. So the pajamas are where I'm at right now. Just pro tip: don't screw up Valentine's Day. Go right now.
Yeah, you could have a different shutdown if you forget about Valentine's Day.
Personal. We're not. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's a personal shutdown. What?
Right.
This is all you got me? A bunch of chocolates? Good. What do you want me to, No, get them comfortable first.
The way to my heart, food and Cozy Earth pajamas. There you go. All right. Thanks, Cozy Earth. Okay. So shutdown. Big headline today is that the shutdown is expected to end at some point today, thanks to the president whipping Republican votes to sort of clear this initial procedural hurdle that will allow them to pass this deal. I want to start with this.
I just, first of all, I love when people in Washington say this. It's expected to pass. I mean, look, it's a 1-seat majority. And I mean, like, I get Anna Paulina and a couple others have gotten some concessions and getting the SAVE Act. Good for them. But that you still have a couple outliers that aren't 100%. And so
you're sounding the warning sign. Do you know something we don't know, Sean?
No, I'm just saying that, like, look, these guys didn't whip the vote a couple of weeks ago and they were like shocked.
Yeah, but this is different. That was under the rate. They didn't know.
To Sean's point, I don't know about that.
Really? But, okay. All right. So TBD, expected to.
No, possibly is the right word. I think that it's not expected. I don't know why people think that somehow it's expected. I think it's possible that it ends today. And also remember, it has to go back to the Senate.
Yeah, they'll clear it over there. But I hear your point, Sean. I do, which is the Emmer and Johnson and Cruz whip operation is not exactly the most vaunted thing these days. So they could be surprised, or somebody could have a flat tire and not show up.
Exactly, and that's the point. Is that Wesley Hunt has been running for Senate in Texas? He's been. I mean, I know.
Is he in town?
Well,
that's not my job.
I was going to say he's not been showing up to vote, and so that has been a problem. But I feel like they would know by now if he wasn't going to be here. Like, that's a simple.
Well, and some Democrats have said they'll vote for it. Clyburn has said it. Hoyer, Lauro. Yeah.
Is that the procedural vote or the final vote?
No, I think they'll clear it through. I do.
Okay. So if you can get a couple Dem votes, then it's there. All right.
So, this negates the point I was going to start with, Sean, which was actually looking at the president's mojo here, because for all the talk about, President Trump losing sway with the party, I mean, what we saw yesterday was once again a show of his muscle, right? You had a bunch of conservatives out there saying they're not going to vote for this, that they want all these changes. They want to add the SAVE Act and voter ID, et cetera, et cetera. He truths that, no, you're not going to get those changes and you need to vote for this. He starts making calls.
He was very clear. It's more about, like, logistical. Like, we got to pass this.
Right.
Then I will.
For sure. He supports it. He supports it. Not saying he doesn't support it, but he's saying no changes right now. I need you to vote for this. Makes the calls, brings Anna Paulina Luna and Burchett to the White House. They have a little one-on-one time or whatever, group time, and then
huddle.
all of a sudden they're
They had a
changing
huddle.
their votes.
They had a huddle.
Yeah, they had a huddle.
So,
Maybe Cozy Earth was there. Who knows?
okay, but here's the question. I've been wondering, is President Trump and our GOP leaders just telling them, hold right now. We're going to take this fight. We're in 2 weeks. Like, just wait. Let's draw a hard line in a week from Friday when DHS funding runs out again. Just wait, save your firepower for then. Like, that's kind of, I'm curious, like, Sean, do you think that's what's going on here?
I don't know. I mean, I think right now they're thinking by the minute. It's just get this passed, get the government open, and then we'll figure out the rest later. I don't think there's any long-term plan right now. And just to be clear, the president's political muscle is very strong. Like that. But what I was reflecting, what Dan was talking about is logistically, like, it's not a question of whether, someone gets a flat tire, somebody had an emergency, somebody had a family thing, and they're not back. I mean, we are now a 1-vote majority. You don't have a margin of error anymore. And that's why, at least knowing that a few Democrats will actually do it, I think is huge.
Dan, how many Dems vote for this, do you think?
I don't know. I think it could be a lot, because I maybe 30, 40 ultimately, because I think they believe it's the right thing to do to get it through. I think the interesting thing now is both parties. I think Trump is going to have to control his most extreme elements in round 2 here, which is the DHS funding provision itself. And Schumer, I mean, it's being reported, but probably should be more. Schumer and Jeffries are now back again fighting with each other. And you have
the caucus is pissed.
And so now, like, it's not just, can Trump keep, the GOP House renegades in line to craft some solution because he sees the polls, he sees all the problems that the party has. But can Democrats say to themselves, we have momentum, we have the wind at our back, like, let's not be stupid here. And I think Jeffrey's insecurity within his own his own caucus, and Schumer feeling stronger now, feels like maybe the majority is actually within reach. Still difficult in 26, but not impossible. Can those two get on the same page? That's a big story here in the next couple of days.
I don't even know, Dan. I wonder if it's the same page. I think some of the comments that I saw, it just seems like they're dealing with different universes. I mean, right. Hakeem's got to worry about these, the comments from a lot of the rank and file Dems, where we're closer to the people, we feel, which they kind of are.
Well, they are, but I think the problem for Jeffries is, if you just step back, if you want to be speaker, you have to win these, swing districts, just to state the obvious. And the idea of getting into defunding ICE, one of the views within the caucus is, if we don't pass a bill here in 10 days, then ICE will just stay, like we'll slowly bleed ICE down. And that is it. I think the general public will have a problem with that. Right?
Just a couple things to keep in mind, guys, in the background. So Kristi Noem announced yesterday that ICE officers in Minneapolis will now be required to wear body cameras. And also keep in mind that the family of Renee Good is actually on the Hill today. They're going to be doing some sort of press conference at 3:00 talking about ICE tactics. But I want to go back to that point you're talking about, Dan, with Jeffries and Schumer. I mean, like, Pelosi and Schumer were so close. They were I can't even think of a time when they were ever at a lockstep with each other. I mean, people referred to them just as Chuck and Nancy, like they were like two peas in a pod, right? Like, what do Jeffries and Schumer have to do to sort of get that mind meld? Like, is there, like, should they be spending more time together? Like, or is it just like going to be impossible to get them on the same page because of what Sean is talking about? They just have different interests, whether it's trying to be speaker again or.
Yeah, I think the chat, Pelosi was close to, Pelosi and Schumer fought a lot, but Pelosi had the confidence that she could do it in private. She didn't worry necessarily. I mean, she worried about her left flank, but her relationships were strong enough in terms of getting people to help her manage it, and in terms of kind of a trust factor, that she could fight him in private, go back to the caucus, and kind of ping pong. Jeffries is so insecure and kind of on a knife's edge with the progressive base and hasn't proven himself. So he can't do this in private. The performative side helps him kind of, get a little bit of a stronger steel spine to ultimately become leader. And that is the dynamic that is causing so much friction. And I think, Schumer's smart. Schumer doesn't want to, have this blow up in his face. But at some point, Jeffries has to grow a pair. And he just really does. There's an old expression James Carville had, which when people were upset with Barack Obama for wishy-washy on healthcare, James Carville famously said Nancy Pelosi could loan Barack Obama, one of her balls and she'd still have more than he does. Jeffries has to grow a pair.
That's the clip and post. All right, let's move on to the Clintons caving, guys, unless you have any last thoughts about this. So Dan and Sean called this like 2 weeks ago. I was pulling up one of our old clips from when we first started talking about this, the notion that the Clintons would make a deal to avoid being held in contempt of Congress and potentially facing jail time. Big victory, obviously, for James Comer, Sean. But what happens now on this? Like, do you think they come in a couple weeks? That's going to obviously leak, even though it's behind closed doors. We're going to find out, I'm sure, what they said. What happens from here on out?
And Clinton goes up and goes, I did not know that man, Mr. Epstein. Get back to the work of the American people.
Oh, the memories.
Yeah, if you're not old enough for that one.
I'm old enough for that one.
We'll see what holds. I mean, again, I think a lot of these things, the devil's in the detail, and the committee was asking for some very specific things in terms of the scope of what they would be asking for. And initially Clinton's lawyers had pushed back and said, well, we're only going to talk about this, as if they had leverage. So we'll see how this thing ultimately plays out. But I think they go through with it. The thing that was interesting, and Dan has brought this up previously, a couple of the rank and file Democrats have said something to the effect of, we now have made it clear that no one going forward, nobody, we've set the precedent, and they've laid the trap here, which is, okay, you guys got Clinton. I hope you enjoyed it, because we're coming after your guy if we ever can.
Yeah.
And then they said it out loud.
Yeah, I think in the Clinton side, there's three things going on. One, this is very Trumpian. There's a lot of finger pointing about who gave the Clintons bad advice to draw this kind of hard line in the sand without doing a whip count. Like, how did you not know that you didn't even come close to having the votes to block this? Two is I think there is real concern in the Clinton camp about who might have been giving stuff to Comer. Some of the photos, certain people are cropped out. And there is a curiosity about what someone who's been in the press a lot, who had a falling out with the Clintons, did that person potentially, kind of like The Godfather, turn on them? And what would that mean? And look, I think the Clintons know the third thing is better than anyone else. Once you sit, if there are no parameters, the fishing expedition can go way beyond Epstein. And they learned that the hard way several times.
Email scandal, right?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
totally.
You know what is so funny about Dan's point? I think I know who he's talking about.
No names.
No. It's like you have a former band of brothers, and then that band.
Yeah, you either have a Vanity Fair subscription or you don't.
Yeah, but when that band of brothers sort of dissolves. And it's just funny in politics how sometimes those relationships come back to bite you. That in the short term, something I remind my petty little self sometimes, which is you have to think long term, because you don't know who that person is that 10 years from now is going to be important or have access to something. I mean, you think about some of the stories that are coming out about Epstein that I'm sure people thought, oh, that was 15 years ago. No one will ever know about that. And now they are. And also people who had access to that information. So
yeah,
it's just one of those lessons learned in politics.
Yep.
Don't put anything in writing.
Not just the writing. I mean, the Trump's always been good about that. But I think beyond that, I think the point is just remember that person that you sort of dismiss one time, 10 years later, maybe subpoena to spill the beans or, be the source of a story to some reporter.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Tulsi Gabbard. So just a few days after she joined law enforcement, we didn't even actually talk about this. So
no,
after the FBI raided the Fulton County election offices, Tulsi Gabbard met with the agents down there. There's a lot of headlines about why was she down there in her current role overseeing sort of national intelligence. And just a few days later, over the past about 24 hours, we've seen a bunch of negative stories about her that are cropping up in the press. The Wall Street Journal, we could put this up. The first
Oh, by the
element
way,
we
she
have
didn't
here.
just show up to talk to the investigators. She got Donald Trump on her
On the
cell
phone with the agents.
to talk
Yes.
to the
Well, but that's one of the
investigators.
stories, right? That's one of
Yeah.
the stories. I'll get to that here. So, Wall Street Journal is reporting that there is a sensitive whistleblower complaint against her that was filed in May of some time, and that it's effectively being blocked from Congress. And so people cannot see it. And obviously, she oversees this agency. So there's a potential conflict there. There are rules that say you're supposed to give whistleblower complaints to Congress. That's actually what triggered the first impeachment, if you remember back in 2019. So there's that. And then also, as Dan was just mentioning, this New York Times story saying that Gabbard not only met with these agents, but she phoned President Trump and like basically put him on speakerphone to talk to these FBI agents who were involved in this investigation. Obviously, very outside the bounds of normal procedure, and shows the president not only sort of leaning on the DOJ to go after some of his adversaries, but being involved in the nitty gritty of field operations. Super fascinating. But let's just start there, Sean, because, you know, a lot of times you look at these stories and you think about the timing of this being super uncanny, right? Republicans call it the deep state. Other people might say congressional Democrats are leaking this stuff. What do you make of this slew of negative stories about her? And do you think it's just her adversaries on the other side, or could?
Oh, no. Yeah,
Well,
this is very internal. There is a big divide within the Trump administration of people. I mean, there's sort of like the middle, and then there's a lot of people within the administration that have Tulsi's number, and they're trying to take her down a notch for a variety of things. And it's been an ongoing, internal war against Tulsi and her commitment to the president, some of the actions that she's taken, some of the things that people within the IC community believe that haven't reflected well. But I mean, I would say this is probably more internal on our side than it is the Dem side coming after her.
That's really, so you think these stories leaked probably from Trump folks in the admin who don't like her?
I would put all of Dan's money on that.
Wow. All of Dan's money on her. Here's the thing, though. She was there, apparently, at the request of the president. Maybe this isn't true, but the reporting indicates, at least in the New York Times, that the president personally ordered her to go to Atlanta for this search and coordinate her actions with the FBI. So ultimately, it will be up to the president, if she stays or goes. But I mean, I've reported on this a few months ago. Like, he's gotten pissy with her as well in the past. Like, he doesn't like certain things she said on Twitter. Obviously, she has been very anti-war, anti-intervention of any kind. So people question that.
Well, and don't forget, during I think it was Venezuela, he posted a thing on Instagram, like at the beach in Hawaii, which some people saw as a little bit of a middle finger to, like, hey, I'm not involved in any of this. Like, good luck, which I can't imagine sat well with the president. I mean, it raised a lot of eyebrows when she did it. Sean, do you think Trump, he doesn't want Noam to be kind of sacrificed to the gods, even though I think they may be kind of trying to arrange a graceful exit. Is there, you think, such care that would be given to Gabbard? Or do you think he'll, say what happens and thanks for serving?
No. I think she's probably, I don't have any knowledge that he's not dissatisfied with her. I think that there are just some people in the administration that, when you get out of your lane sometimes, or you do things that there's just, I hate to say it, it's not that
abnormal. Yep.
Abnormal. It's just, this is what happens. It's just sometimes it gets a little bit more public. Mm-hmm. So I don't have any sense that he's personally, if I had to guess how this thing played out, it was sort of like she shared a tip with him about something. He said, great, you go do it. I mean, Trump is very much, he doesn't care what your title is or your job is. So if you go to him and say, Mr. President, I just found a way to break the atom up 4 times, he'd say, go do it. He wouldn't say, you know what, you should call over to the National Academy of Sciences and work with some, rocket scientists over there. He would, if you come to him with a solution or a problem and you can explain how to fix it, he'll just say, go do it. So my guess, again, I have no personal knowledge of this, is that Tulsi shared some information with him. He said, great, I want you to go lead this effort. And she did. So I don't find it, knowing how he operates, that's very standard operating procedure for him. He's not concerned about your job is this and you do that and that person does this. He's a results guy. And so
I've got some agents. I've got your cell phone. I'll go to Georgia. Okay.
Well, my guess is she probably just decided to call him, not vice versa on that. Like,
I would not be
you think
surprised.
he said, I want you to call me when you're down there so I can talk to the agents? I mean, it could be,
yeah.
but like,
This is a guy who called into the state to say, find me. But I mean,
no. I who knows, but I
believe it.
Listen, when I saw that she was down in Georgia doing this, my first thought was that maybe her job really is on the line. Maybe this is the way she's trying to get back in his good graces. Everybody knows, like 2020, the election, like huge, sore point for the president. Like,
I think they
what a better way
the
to
agent
score good, political points with him. Or
I agree with you, Rachel, and I think he.
Did we?
And
Dan, you just cut out. Say that again.
I said I think I agree with you that she is potentially trying to, please the boss. And two, I think they wanted the agents to know Trump is very invested in your work.
Oh, see, the funny thing is, the way I saw this was more like, hey, I want to share with you like what they saw or found. I don't know.
Clearly they found something then, right? Quick question for you, then we'll move on.
Or maybe not. I mean, I think, again, part of it is you got to look at it both ways. There's times in which you can say, hey, I've got these agents. These are the best folks. Here's what they're seeing. It's not like I'm watching this happen. Like, you might want to confirm so that you're dialing it back. So you don't want to get the expectation too high that you're going to find something and say, Mr. President, I'm here. This is what we're seeing on the ground. I just want you to be aware here. I've got some of the agents with me that can confirm this. Like, I think you could play this either way.
After 6 years, maybe that message will get through.
Thoughts about whether she'll still be around a year from now?
I do. I think a year from now. And again, I'll go back to this. Tell me what I think is going to be interesting to me is sort of next November, where we are, because there's going to have to be some kind of come to Jesus that says, hey guys, if we were to lose the Senate, like we're not negotiating cabinet members going forward. So you're either out and we can get someone through in the lame duck, or you're out, or you got to stay.
Sean, if you had to pick, so I totally agree with you. If you and Rachel, I'll ask you the same thing. Who would be the cabinet secretary that you think with that dynamic, right? It's like, hey, you're either serving for the rest of the term or like whatever. You got to go spend more time with your family. Who do you think is most likely to go spend more time with their family at Christmas?
Basically, you're asking if there's a cabinet secretary, if you tell all the cabinet secretaries you have to stay all 4 years, which one is going to say, oh,
well, and then you factor in some people, there's like, for instance, I found it very fascinating. I was on with our friend Ed Henry on Newsmax, and Corey Lewandowski was on right before I came on, and I was listening. Ed asked Lewandowski, will Noam still be in her role in a month from now? Corey did not answer that directly.
Oh, yeah. I don't think Noam's going to be gone in a month, but
yeah, I don't think a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually find it odd that like that question, that to me is a no-brainer of a question. She enjoys serving. Obviously, we all serve at the pleasure of the president, but I mean, like,
if you express confidence, you're in trouble.
He just literally put out a statement backing her, with his full and unequivocal.
Isn't that usually the death knell? No.
But I don't know why that shouldn't have been a tough question.
Okay.
Okay, guys, let's move on to Iran. So Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are going to be meeting with the Iranians on Friday to talk nuclear deal in Turkey. We have been here before, but maybe this could be different. The president actually has more leverage, it seems like, than he did over the summer. The regime is clearly weakened by the protests, and the U.S. now has new firepower in the region. We've moved a lot of military assets there, so it sounds like they're potentially ready for a strike if they decide to do this. And then, of course, the big difference now is that the president has, captured Maduro, shown that he's willing to follow through on a threat, which perhaps makes the Iranians look at him a little differently than they did last summer. Sean, last time the president engaged in talks about a nuclear deal with Iran. We ended up striking them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is going to be different this time, or is it just a matter of time before we're bombing them?
I've kind of come down on the side of very strategic, limited strikes. Go in, take out military, very specific sites, as opposed to some kind of massive attempt for regime change. That's where my head is right now.
Dan, a lot of our allies in the region just a few weeks ago were saying, don't do this. Please don't do this. Goodness, don't do this. Do you think they've come around now, or same position?
No, what I find really fascinating about this is like the Wall Street Journal op-ed today kind of basically says you got to follow through now. You've talked to them before. We've been down this road for 10 years of talks. You've threatened. Here are all the times you've said, if you do this, you're gonna hear from us. I think it was the Saudi defense chief who in a private meeting was heard saying, like, the U.S. does need to follow through with this. Like, you can't make this threat as much. The thing to me is I don't think Trump wants to do this. And I think he's right to be very nervous about the day after, right? Once there's no doubt we have big bombs. There's no doubt that we can do a lot of damage. The question is, then what? Is the leadership still in place? Do we really get everything? What are do they respond after now twice being hit by Israel and the United States and basically, taking it? This is where.
Oh, no.
The Iranians and the Chinese are going after Dan today.
Yeah, we just lost you again. You said this is where blank cut out.
I just think he does not like to be seen as weak.
Yeah.
I'm being serious, not snarky here. And now you're starting to have allies say, hey, pal, you've talked about the stick. You gotta do it. You've moved all the military equipment there. You've warned them. And I think how do you get out of this?
Especially Israel, right? Like, just a couple of weeks, they were telling him to wait, but it sounds like it was just because the assets were not in place. Now the assets are in place to protect them or help protect them, right? And so now they want him to do it. But like, the president trusts his political instincts, right, Sean? I mean, like, if he thinks this is a loser, like, it doesn't matter if all these people are trying
the political instincts are one thing, but I've said this, and Dan is we're echoing, what the what next is what matters.
Right.
Saying I want to do it and then been told, well, here's your battle damage assessment. Here's what they're going to do afterwards. Here's the secondary strikes that are going to occur. That it's easy to say, take the shot and do this, right? But it's sort of like going back gangster style. It's like, okay, well, you're going to take the head of the, one of the families, and then they're going to come retaliate against you.
And I think this idea that, okay, we'll take out the government's sources of attacking protesters, and then we'll let the protesters go do their thing. That is a risk. You don't know what comes out of the protests. What if some other country or their agents are in there to ensure that some worse regime comes out of it? Like, you break it, you own it. You got to have the replacements ready to go, protect them, and stand them up.
Well, you notice, I mean, that's why I think you've seen the shift, though, in how the other neighboring countries who are generally allied with us are saying, well, maybe we pump the brakes a little.
Yep. I think Trump's right to be cautious.
We'll see. Okay, let's talk about some of the DC local news. So a lot of Washingtonians here are in an uproar about the president announcing that he wants to close the Kennedy Center and spend the next 2 years on reconstruction. My first reaction when I heard this was, why? The Kennedy Center is beautiful. For those of you who've ever been there, dream of mine to dance on that stage once upon a time when I was a ballerina. But of course, this is President Trump, real estate tycoon who wants to put his mark on the city and is clearly doing so already. Let's start with you, Dan. Is this the East Wing 2.0, as in, is the Kennedy Center going to be completely demolished by summer?
It's a little different because Congress did appropriate money to renovate the Kennedy Center. So start with that. Like, they did not appropriate money to do the East Wing and put a ballroom on.
Renovate.
To renovate. So, I mean, look, the Kennedy Center needs some updating. Like, that has been documented now for years. There's some mold issues. The HVAC system is really old. There have been leaks of pipes. I think, to your point, Rachel, it is this fear that Trump is going to basically build a, gold-plated Mar-a-Lago on the Potomac. But on the other hand, he is the president. The money has been appropriated. To me, I think 99% of the country does not care whatsoever. This is a Beltway thing. It's the Kennedy name. People just feel like, oh my God, Trump and Kennedy in the same sentence. But,
the president was asked about this by reporters yesterday, and he said, I'm not ripping it down. I'll be using the steel. He's going to recycle it, guys. So we're using the structure. We're using some of the marble, and some of the marble comes down. So, yeah.
By the way, you do realize, if you take that slow, we're using some of the steel. That says we're taking it down. I mean, I read that as it's coming down.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know about, obviously, construction's not my forte. I just have a hard time believing, depending on how much you take this thing down, how it's going to be put back up, like in 2 years.
Is there gold everywhere? I think that's the. But you know what?
So there's two things. I'm conflicted on this for a number of reasons. Number one, I agree with Dan. This is such an inside the Beltway story. Yeah. I think for sure. Most people, part of me is sort of thinks of this like NPR, which is why are we in the business of the performing arts? And it should just be privatized entirely. I just don't know that it's a government function philosophically. So that's number one. Number two, this gets back to sort of this overarching thing that we have an issue that Donald Trump's been fighting for the working men and women of America. And I'm is focusing on renovating the Kennedy Center high on that list. I get it. I believe that I've made the point before that in the first term, we sort of yielded culture, and Andrew Breitbart correctly said that politics is downstream of culture, but renovating the Kennedy Center isn't, to me, sort of high on that list. Hold on, I gotta let the dog in.
Let the dog in. Okay.
Much higher on the list.
Okay, well, let's talk about some other news while Sean lets the dog in here.
I think this was conveniently timed. He told the dog, when we get to Jeannie and Pirro, you run and I'll run after you.
I'm back. Don't worry.
You can't joke with me. I'm blonde. I take everything literally. Okay, yeah, let's talk about some other local news. So some in the administration clearly not getting the message from Second Amendment advocates and supporters to back off this notion of coming after people's guns or coming after them because they have a gun. Let's play this clip of U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro on Fox News.
You bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back.
Sean, wouldn't that mean a bunch of Republican lawmakers would be going to jail?
No. So, the DC does. It's a unbelievably arduous task, but you can get a permit. In fact, I was literally talking to a lawmaker about a week ago who was in the final stages of their permit. DC, because of some great Supreme Court cases, has had to allow the ownership of handguns. When I lived there, when I was early in my 20s, it was almost impossible. You could own long guns from the Civil War that, were had a barrel that was 20 feet long. It was challenged in court. They now have this unbelievably arduous permitting process. And I know members who have and are going through it. So that's separate. Again, though, philosophically, I don't know why what Jeanine said there, to me, I get it. That's currently the law in DC. But for our side to be coming out strong and we've been fighting to say that you have a constitutional right to carry. You have all of these things. And it's one thing if she was pointing out what the current law of DC is. I would get that and I would respect that, saying, hey, unfortunately, the current law says X and my job is to enforce the current law. But that's not what I heard there, which is we're coming after gun owners. And, it was interesting. There was one of the gun groups probably a couple days after some of the comments that were made after the Preddy killing was saying, you start to attrit just a few % of MAGA voters that are Second Amendment supporters, that could be fatal in a midterm. And I just don't know. To me, I'm why are we doing this? Why are we are champions of the Second Amendment. I believe in gun ownership well beyond whether there was a Second Amendment or not. I think it makes sense. It's smart. And to have our side out there sort of elevating this issue, to me, is not helpful.
And that's
Go ahead,
I
Jim.
think is the big issue, which is you have a voter enthusiasm problem on the right. And you now think about places where gun rights are huge. Georgia, Ohio, North Carolina. I mean, this is not, she is an extension of what Trump has been banging on and others in the administration, which is you do not have a right or should not be carrying guns around any sort of protest. You should not be carrying guns around law enforcement at all. Boy, it sounds like the Democratic Party. And to keep leaning in, if you're a Democrat, you're going to start doing mail, not officially through the party, to remind Republican voters, this is how you suppress the vote. You just take clips and you just send it to people and say, please call and thank Jeanine Pirro for trying to confiscate your guns. Yeah. And that's how you get people to say, you know what, screw them. I don't want to turn out to vote.
I mean, like I said, the irony, of course, is that
both parties do that, folks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's, I remember during the Romney campaign, it was like it was in a religious attack of sorts. But the idea that like our side, I mean, to Dan's point, like we're not like, we need more excitement, more like we're fighting for this, not, hey, we're trying to step on the enthusiasm of key issues, whether it was pro-life or Second Amendment issues. To me, we're not helping what we need to get people fired up for coming into a midterm.
I just like, if there were a bunch of shootings recently and like, the murder rate was like skyrocketing or something, like maybe I could see her saying something like this, but like the context of it, I didn't understand the context of it other than to just sound angry.
Right, but also like
residents, yeah.
Again, we have like the movement, not me, but the movement has fought to get the residents of DC their ability to carry concealed, carry handguns for decades. Literally, there was a Supreme Court
case about DC.
About DC. Yeah. And like to suddenly come out and say, we're going to go after you and you'll be lucky if you get the gun back and you're going to go to jail. I mean, again, I get noting what the current law is. That's your job. But to basically say, we're going to come after you.
Whoa. Well, and don't forget, philosophically, the Second Amendment kind of movement was about an activist government, about kind of preparing yourself, like being, government can overreach, government can come and try to take your property. So like this idea of trust the government too, like the government is going to tell you what to do. The government's going to take and keep. I mean, it's bizarro world. Totally bizarro world.
All right, guys, let's take some questions. All right, here we go. Trump's ridiculously below the belt truth attack of Thomas Massie. Oh, this person wants us to talk about this. Attacking his wife is going too far. Would be interesting to get a polling update on his race. I believe we actually have an element on Massie and the president. Here we go. Can put this up. Yeah. So the president, obviously.
Well, why don't you read the first part so there's context?
Yeah. So Massie retweeted a President Trump truth saying now he's attacking my wife who voted for him 3 times. Maybe someone told him she's actually the one who suggested I ask Pam Bondi in person at a dinner when we would get to phase 2 of the Epstein files. So the backstory is that obviously you guys all know the president hates Thomas Massie because he doesn't vote with him, was going after him yesterday, suggesting he was a rhino. Massie was obviously behind, the big push to release the Epstein files. And the president is trying to get him out in a primary right now as well. And a lot of his allies are working really hard behind the scenes to make sure he's not elected again. And yet yesterday, the president went not just after Massie, but his new wife, that I think they were just married a few months ago. And again, him saying right here that actually she's a Trump voter, not just once, but 3 times. Sean, I mean, the president, when he gets mad, he punches, 50 times harder than when he initially gets hit. Like, did he go too far on this with going after his wife?
Look, here's my take on this. We have a 1-seat majority, as I said, and you need, it's like in the Senate where you're going after Tillis. You're going to need that guy to pass your Fed nominee, at least on committee, probably on the floor too. And so red on red has never been something that I am a fan of because Massie may not be 100% with the president, but right now, if he's 90%, that's better than any Democrat who's 0. So I think that we should be constantly reminding ourselves that, like, until we have some bulletproof, filibuster-proof majority, that we need to stick together as much as possible.
That's not going to happen, Sean. They hate this guy.
I understand it. I understand it, but I also think that there's an element. It's like Susan Collins or Tilla. It's like in the Senate that you're going to need them, and if you push them too far, in the case of MTG, she resigned. You can say what you will, but at the end of the day, now we have a 1-seat majority until that seat gets filled in Georgia. Okay.
I think what's interesting is you have Rand Paul is a thorn in their side. You have that open Senate race in Kentucky. I don't know, guys, if there's a sense, Sean, of who is going to win that primary. But it's crowded. It's getting a little intense. People are up on air. Kentucky's an interesting state within the GOP right now.
Yeah, in this district in particular, because even though it's super red, a lot of these people like pride themselves on being independent thinkers, right? Like, and they love Massey. So we'll see who they love more, Massey or the president.
To the polling question, two things. One, there won't be any public polling in this. I mean, just so people understand that it's a Republican primary in a safe district, so no one's going to poll that district. And frankly, even when you do, so it'll come from either campaign. I would say in a primary like this, I would be very suspect of it. It's a tough race to poll to begin with. So, to the question, I don't think that you're going to get you're never going to know until this thing's over.
Yeah. Somebody in the comments here says, we don't need rhinos Massey's not a rhino. He's like so conservative that he's pushing back on certain pieces of the agenda that are not conservative enough. So it's the opposite direction. Let's take another question. Okay, here we go. How come there's been so little coverage, including on your show, of Trump selling the IT equivalent of nukes to the UAE, a country with ties to China, while he himself is profiting from it? Sarkozy, the former president of France, got imprisoned for much less. This is referring to that huge Wall Street Journal investigation that ran over the weekend. I mean, I am willing to bet that this is one of the first things Democrats investigate when they flip the House, right, Dan?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think I've said this before. I think you're going to hear talk about not only this deal, the crypto deals and other things. There is a reason that traditionally you did not allow members of Congress and the administration and their family to continue to actively run businesses when they were in office, because whether it's real or just kind of smells, it's not a good look. And so absolutely, I think that story, if you haven't seen it, about how the UAE came in and made, I think it was a $450 million investment in the I forget what the company is called. Yeah. And then turned around and at the same time was lobbying for access to these AI chips that, they have relationships with China. There were national security people who said we shouldn't do this because we really fear that it will be kind of backdoored to China, because a lot of these countries in the Middle East do business with everybody. I sure would want questions under oath about what happened.
Sean, what's your take on this?
Look, I get the issues, but just to be clear, they bought a stake in a company that Eric Trump is the president of. So
but Trump has a stake in it. He did not recuse himself from it or sell it.
No, he has right. He owns equity in it, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I think there's a ton of deals. These guys have run around the country. They've made plenty of deals. And I think after what they saw with the Biden administration, they were like, are you really going to criticize us now?
A $50,000 painting versus a $450 million.
Well, I will remind you that was preceded by a seat on a board of a Ukrainian.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But Biden didn't get have a financial stake in that.
Well,
I mean, look, I'm not saying this not a problematic thing, but
he, I mean, in fairness to the Republicans, the Biden family made money, and how the Biden family dispersed money behind the curtain was always part of the questions of them.
Republicans would have loved to get you in a witness chair on that. Dan.
I mean, I didn't work for Biden, but it was look, I will say this. Part of the problem and part of what's going to work in the Trump's defenses is the numbers of members of Congress whose families have unique relationships in the business world because the spouse is in government. That list is so long. It's been long going back to LBJ buying, radio towers in Texas when he oversaw, the Senate. It's not right. And anytime you see it, it should be exposed and stopped.
Why not though require shouldn't these people be divesting everything? Like just everybody divest everything. Your family, fine, get that. Family thing is fine.
Well, I guess the question is, to your point, look, here's the deal. When I was in the White House, the rule is that you have to sell any individual stock, right? So everything had to be sold, and you can go to a qualified mutual fund or an index fund, something that if the market goes up, you win. If the market goes down, you lose, like that. But that way, you're not in any individual thing. I'm a fan of that. But here's the kicker, because I've asked a lot of lawmakers about the Stock Act, and well, where's that line? Is it that your spouse can't do it?
Yeah.
Is it that your kids can't do it? So what if you have an adult child? And they want to go into the financial world? They want to go, to Wall Street or whatever. Are you prohibiting them from going into? And I'm not.
Yeah, no, he's right. You're right.
I think to me that the debate is how far can you go where you tell a spouse,
family
member that they can't do it. And then what about like the wife of your son or daughter, or the spouse of your son or daughter?
Right.
Like there's a line in which I think we have to go, okay, when does that stop? And it's a valid question to ask and debate, but it is an interesting one to just, for me, because I've gone back and forth. It's like if you get into public office, and your spouse is a financial or stock trader, you suddenly they have to give up their entire career for you, or that's the decision. I mean, like there are legitimate questions that I think are worth debating.
Right. And the challenge is it's not necessarily that in these families that somebody says, here, mom or dad, member of Congress or administration, here's $1 million. It's like they go out and they buy a beach house and the parents can use it whenever they want all the time. Or, hey, we'll pay for the vacation that we're going to take to the Caribbean at the Ritz-Carlton. Like that is how the family wealth ends up kind of the rising tide lifts all the boats, and the member and his or her kind of immediate family is taken care of. That's how people have done it for years. That's how they evade this stuff. But it's so pervasive on both sides of the aisle. And this is what the public hates. Whenever they read about it, they're just, I'm seeing people are talking about Nancy Pelosi. Folks, Paul Pelosi was a super successful investment banker in the 70s and 80s. Right. So this is what he did prior to Nancy Pelosi getting into Congress. She got into Congress because they had made so much money. She was a prominent fundraiser in San Francisco. That's how she cleared the primary to win the seat. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, the family did it. He had always done it. He did it even better when he got into leadership.
Quick question. Will this be one of the articles of impeachment?
Not impeachment, but they will hold hearings.
I don't know, man. I could see the whole emoluments concept, right? Of not like benefiting off a presidency. Like,
look, I think this is where your candidates in 28 are going to say, we do not want to be talking about. We want to be talking about what you find in your investigation and saying, elect me to end this, not should he be impeached or not. That's great.
That's right. You disagree about whether they're going to impeach him at all. That's
Hakeem's got to grow a pair.
Okay, let's take more. We've got a couple more questions from the YouTube channel. Let's bring some up here. Okay. Sean Spicer question. Will Trump replace Noem before the midterms? Who will replace her?
So it's a great question. And I think Dan was alluding to this earlier, or maybe not, but I don't, but like, I think there's always this issue about whether you leave for family reasons because you're being pushed out or marginalized or being told to, or like in Trump world, that happens probably more than anything, where it's, you get the off ramp and you take it. The broader question is, will she be gone before the midterms? I would say if anyone's gone, it's her. Who replaces her? There's a lot of great options. And that's that's the $1 million question. I mean, there are people that have been around the block with him. There's some lawmakers. I don't know.
I've got a couple names.
Would Glenn Youngkin, you think? No.
I don't think so.
That was one of the names that has been floated.
I just look. I know the president as like I don't. I think for a lot of people in MAGA world, Glenn Youngkin is untenable.
Yeah.
I was gonna say when those names were floated way back in December when people first started about Nome, I asked someone in the White House about that, and they literally laughed and was like, "These people are floating their own names." Youngkin, Jason.
I would be shocked. I mean, like I
one.
guess to some degree, Youngkin has to figure. I mean, he's got plenty of money, so it's not like he needs. But I think he wants to stay relevant, and but I just don't know that and frankly, I don't know that he'd be good at it. You know, he's been an executive and a governor. Not that but like he doesn't have the personality to play this game. I don't think so. And I think that the base would revolt. I think Youngkin was not a MAGA person by any stretch of the imagination. And there's no bona fides to back it up. I think he'd get confirmed though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And Jason Chaffetz, the other name, just seemed so random. Like Fox News, like former lawmaker. Yeah, he was oversight chairman, but like I've never heard.
I mean, like I've heard everything from Tricia McLaughlin, this current spokesman. You know, Chad Wolf had obviously was the acting before. I don't think Tom Homan would ever want it for what it's worth. I mean, like there are people that are in the orbit as well, and you've got some folks, Rodney Scott at ICE, who's well liked within a lot of people in the administration. I mean, they won't have a problem finding people to step up.
Tom Homan would be good. Tom Homan would be good.
I don't know.
Okay, let's take another question.
Secretary, he's good at what he does, and I don't know. I just don't get the sense that he wants.
I also am not sure they'd want to put Homan up to have to answer about the bribery allegation. I mean, that's right. in all seriousness, if there's a Democratic I mean, I don't know if heading into the midterm, Sean, you want that litigated in public. Like, I'm being serious. I think you just would rather stay where you are. It's not confirmed. You're good to go.
To be clear, that was made before the president won election, right? That payment.
No. It was in this past
during the transition.
Yes, that he took a bag of cash.
Right, but it happened before.
Oh, yeah, correct. In the interim, I believe, in the transition
during the transition.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's take another question. Maybe one more. Okay, Republican lady, hello. Question: what makes Shapiro feel like he's entitled to such prominence as a political presidential candidate? Is he headed for the kind of fate that met Jeb Bush or Scott Walker? Oh, wow. I remember when I thought Scott Walker was definitely going to be the next president.
Yeah.
Not exactly.
I mean, look, anytime you're the governor of a major, swing state, of a big state, I think it was George H.W. Bush said, you're a 3-foot putt from the White House at that point. So it's the ultimate swing state in Pennsylvania. He won overwhelmingly when he ran statewide. He today is the favorite to win overwhelmingly again. He may not, but today. So when you look around, you say, if somebody can, is 50, 60% approval in Pennsylvania and we need to win that state, let's look at him. But like the other two names you referenced, there are plenty of great governors who have gone on to be terrible national candidates. And we have not seen if Josh Shapiro is capable, but I do think he's, gearing up to give it a try. In fact, he's in the process of giving it a try.
I mean, clearly he can win Trump voters. I mean, he's done it before. That's a huge for a Democrat these days.
Yep.
But like, does the base, this is where I get back to like, does the base care? Like, what is it that they're prioritizing? And it's just hard. I don't see the pragmatic argument for we have to pick someone in a primary who can actually win a Trump voter. Like,
depends where you're going. Depends what those states are.
Just to be clear, I mean, Josh Shapiro's race last time was not tough. Like a doorknob could have won that race. And so I think that like his political prowess is yet to be seen. I mean, I don't buy that this guy was some kind of strong political athlete that defied the odds. He you talk about a 3-foot putt, Dan, that was a 3-inch putt. He literally won the governorship. So I only say that because he comes across cocky and like he's not, to me, I would be shocked if he gets very far. I don't think he's got the chops.
Who was worse, his opponent or Kamala Harris? Think about it. It's close.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's close, but I think that like even Republicans didn't get behind.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, look, we're going to see. I mean, Shapiro wants to run the score up in Pennsylvania. And to your point, Rachel, there is no doubt that he can appeal. One of the things I'm curious about is the more he attacks Trump And the more he starts speaking up to contrast with Trump, can he hold Trump voters in his state? Because the rub has always
a race.
Yeah, the rub has always been, you know, when people have tried to do that. I think of like John Edwards in 2004. He basically lost home. I mean, that's why he didn't run for re-election. He was going to lose. So we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. We're at time. Sean, what you got coming on later today?
Well, if you want to know where all this stuff's going to go down the Republican side, John Solomon's going to break it down for us today.
Nice.
SAVE Act, all the investigation stuff, like definitely fan favorite. So we got a big show headed your way with John Solomon tonight at 6.
Fun stuff. All right, guys, we will be back tomorrow, 8:30. Thanks for joining. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you.